Hey everybody, what we're going to talk about here is how to get started in this course and how to do your homework. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your R and RStudio are completely up to date. So what we want to do, let me close a bunch of this crap I have open, is go to R information on Blackboard. And this is true even if you've been working in R. So we'll want to click on download R. And we'll go to, this takes us automatically to CRAN, and we want to download the latest version. The latest version is called You Stupid Darkness, and it's 3.4. And so I'm on a Mac, I would click on the Mac OS one, and I would click on this first package and install that like you would normally install stuff on a Mac. Okay. Then the next thing I want to do is make sure that my Studio or RStudio desktop is completely updated. Now, R mostly shouldn't give us too much trouble, but differences in Studio, because we're using Markdown, really will. So the newest version of RStudio is 1.0143. And so you'll want to make sure you download that. So I would click on the Mac version and go from there. Okay. How can you tell what options you have if you want to check first before you spend a lot of time downloading? Is let's just open Studio. So remember, the number one rule is don't open R, because it opens R for you. And one thing you'll notice in my newer videos is that I have my environment script side and my console side left and right. As you watch the older videos, the console's at the bottom like it normally is. If you like this side-by-side view, which I have started doing recently, you can tell it to switch console on the left. This is the default, to console on the right, just an FYI. But when you open, you'll see that it loads here and it tells me that I'm using 3.4. And then for Studio, I can do RStudio, about RStudio, or its file about, or maybe help about on a Windows machine. I'm not 100% sure. And it's 10143. Okay. And that's going to make sure that you have all of the same things that I am looking at on my computer, so that we can all, if we're troubleshooting, we know we're all working on the same page. Okay. Now the question is, like, how do I do my homework? Because I'm sure that most of you have not worked with Markdown before, and what you'll see me do in a lot of videos is just use scripts. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between a script and Markdown. So I'm going to open that first Intro to R script. And so this would be like your first practice assignment, just a little bit bigger so you can see it. And the scripts come out as .rs. Okay. This is where you're really saving all the analyses that you're running. So I could work on making my vectors, right? And then those vectors would show up down here in my environment window. I could work on the second part of the assignment, which is talk about the length of the vector, and you'll see me do all of this in that first video. But that's what that does, though, is like if I want to grade that, I have to open the script, download it from Blackboard, and run it myself. And I found that a lot of times scripts are incomplete because you forget to copy something, or you're using the import dataset button. So what we're going to do is we're going to try something new. So you guys are my guinea pig class. It'll be fine. Is we're going to use our Markdown files. So these are different than scripts. And they're actually part of the new version of RStudio a couple of editions ago, where I could actually make a Markdown file myself. The reason I'm super excited about Markdown is because I can write an entire APA-style journal complete with all of my data analyses in R, and do all of the citations and the tables automatically. So that's like the cool part of Markdown. So we're just gonna get your feet wet doing your homework. Okay. So what you'll see when you log on to Blackboard to download the assignments is that there'll be these RMD files. Okay. So see, automatically they're gonna have different little icons, and one of them says .r and the other one says .rmd. And RMD is for R Markdown. It comes up with the title, it comes up with my name as the author because I made the file, the date that I'm working on it, and this you want to leave alone. So if you want to change the name of the author to you, it doesn't totally matter because when you upload things into Blackboard, it tells me who you are, so I know who I'm grading. But if you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to put the right date on there, that's okay. Just don't change this line. What's going to happen is we're going to be able to take this file and convert it into a Word document. Now, it ain't going to be pretty because the conversion from RMD to Word, I think, is pretty poor. The conversion from RMD to PDFs is really beautiful. So what you'll see, let me kind of make this bigger, is that the assignment will be down here in regular text. So the big headers will be marked off here in blue, and those are denoted by using the hashtag or pound symbol. And then this is just the assignment. So this is the exact same assignment in Word document format, just now pasted into a markdown file. And what you'll do to complete your assignment is create these little R chunks. So they're called chunks. And the nice thing about chunks and having these little headers is if you click here, you'll see that it makes it navigatable. So let's say you're working on one of the longer homework assignments and you're like, oh, I was on, CFA number 4. You could come down here instead of scroll. You could click here and find the section you're looking for. So it kind of automatically creates this sort of outline navigation for you. Now let's say I want to, it says create R chunks to display the output and the code in this file. And then you're probably going, I don't know how to do that. So for each section denoted in blue, I'm going to create the code to answer that question. So basically right here, what I'm going to do is create my answer. Okay. Now I don't want to just type my code because then it won't run. So I could just start typing the code and say, okay, I'm vector of numbers. So I could say vector 1 equals 1, 2, 3, 4. But that's never actually going to run. So it's not like a script in the sense that it's going to run this code. Instead, what we need to do is click Insert here and then click R. So you can insert little mini scripts within the written text. So anything that's in this gray here, if you have a different color, like if you have the black background or something, I don't remember what color it comes up as, but it comes up as a slightly different color. On mine, it's gray. And that allows me to run an R script within a Word document. So here's where I could do vector 1 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, and I could tell it to output vector 1. Now this is a live R script, so I can tell it to run by hitting Command Return or Command R, or sorry, Windows people, Control Enter, Control R. And that'll actually run over here in the console or below. I think if you're doing this, you're going to like the side-by-side because it's a little easier to see your homework and the output. And then I can tell it to output vector 1. The other thing you can do is just tell it to run this chunk. So this will run current chunk and output it over here. There are some options, so the little options wheel here. It also will display out here for you sometimes. And it's really nice if you're making a picture because it'll preview the picture for you. But if you don't want to see that, you can just hit X. So you can click on the little wheel and give it a name. It can be like section 1. You don't have to do that, but you can. And then for the output, you want to use document default. Document default is show code and output. But we don't really want to use show nothing or in either option, because I want in the assignment to see the output and the code that you ran. Okay. So show code and output, hit apply. And so what is that going to do when I'm done with it? So I'll answer all 4 questions here. So, okay, I answered the first one. Let's see here. Use the rep or sequence function. So let's do that. So vector 2 equals repeat 1 5 times. Okay, and I also could create another one. Vector 3 equals the sequence function. Sequence 1 to 10 by 1. Okay. And I could also tell that to output. It doesn't say to do that in the homework, but just to show you what's going to happen here in a minute. And then I would go down to the next piece and just insert another chunk here. So insert R, and I could answer this question. Use the length functions. Length of vector 1. Okay. All right, we keep going. So you want to create these little chunks to display the answer and the code that you're running. Now you'll notice on this first chunk I gave it a name, so it comes up with that name. It says chunk 2 section 1. Giving them names just helps you find them later if you have a lot of code. Not necessary, but it helps. Because you see here chunk 3, it doesn't have a name. So how do I turn this in? I don't want the RMD file unless something goes really horribly wrong. I might ask you for it. Because then it'll kind of be like, oh, what the hell did you do? Please send me your RMD. What you want to do instead is click this knit button. Okay. Knit has several options. Don't use HTML because Blackboard will not let you upload HTML. I actually like the HTML version because it's got these little cute little links in it. But then you won't be able to turn your homework in and you'll be sad. You can use PDF, but the default is already set up here to be Word. So I don't even have to click on anything, I just click knit. Okay. It's a funny term. The package name is knitter, or knit-r. And what knitting does is it takes this document and it creates a Word file that has the assignment, the code that you ran, and the output from that code. So it's really cool because I can see what you're doing. And so it makes it a lot easier than if you have like a really bad graph or something that's really wrong. I can see the code right above it, so I know how you got to that graph. So I'm just going to click knit. It takes a minute. While that's doing its thing, one thing to know, go back over here, is the first time that you open one of these, it'll probably tell you have to install some stuff. And those are just the packages it uses to knit. It also might install some cute little add-ins for you. Alright, so when I come over here, it does not automatically save. So see how mine says, to save a copy of this document, click duplicate. So you can click duplicate, and it'll ask you where you want to save this document. Okay. Now notice it actually does save in the background, so it's kind of a lie. And I don't know if this is just a Mac thing or what, but I would say save. Yeah, replace. And this is, oh goodness, it did not like that. But this is just the, I have no idea what I was saying. Let's back up a second. This is the file that you get after you click knit. So this is the title of the document. You'll notice it's in the ugliest font in existence, which is Calibri. But that's okay. You can leave it looking like this. It's okay if it's ugly. But look at what's happening when we get down to, so here's the big question, make a vector of numbers, and then here's the second piece. Use the repeat or sequence function, include and concatenate. What it did was it printed out the code that you ran, and then also printed out the output from that code. So it gave me my little pound symbols here are the output from that. And so now it says here I ran length of vector 1, and here's what happened. It showed me 4. So this is really nice because it shows me the code that you were running and your output, and it's right here with the question for that assignment. So you want to make sure you put each little chunk with the question that it goes with. Okay. It's better to have too many chunks. Now that file I do think did save on my computer, so I'm going to try opening it again. Kind of show you over here. So I think it does automatically save. It just gave me some crank about not actually saving. Okay. This is what you would upload into Blackboard. Okay. And on my end, it'll show up as this nice cute Word document. And if I have any questions, I'll send you a message and ask, like, hey, what's happening here? Okay. And so that is how you complete and use your R Markdown. Because then, let's say you mess up and you realize you've screwed up this like in step 4, and you turned in the assignment and you realize that step 4 screwed up all the way through step 25. Well, the nice thing about this is, you know, if you're completing assignments from before where you're just kind of cutting and pasting from Word, you would have to repaste all of the output from step 4 to 25 into your Word document. If I screw up at the beginning, now what I could do is, oh, I meant to call this vector 8, right? Now I can just hit knit again. So I fixed it one little place. It's been used 10 times later. I would just hit knit one more time. It would recreate all of the pictures for you and all of the different tables and documents, like anything you've done. It'll recreate the entire thing. And so this is one reason to love Markdown, is when you screw up in step 3, you can recreate the entire document with like step 87 fixed as well. So this is one reason I've been wanting to move towards it, because when students mess up, they always get really cranky that they have to fix every point after that. Well, now it's much easier to fix every point after that because you just rerun it. Okay. And so this is what that first assignment may look like. Another warning about getting started that's not really tied to Markdown, but is tied to using CSV files. Okay. So the nice thing about importing files is, and what you'll see me do in all of the videos, is create a working directory and then import the file. Okay. For Markdown, the easier thing to do is just to make sure that the file that you're using is in the same folder as the saved Markdown file. So one of the things it asked me to do here is to import the attached data set. So I would click insert my little chunk here. I'm going to call this data import so I can find it later. Now, generally, like I said in the videos, you'll see, okay, I'm going to set my working directory to where I have that file saved, and then I'm going to use the read.csv function. But what happens in Markdown is it assumes that the data file is in the same folder automatically, like no working directory needed. So I could just do data stuff equals read.csv. I think this file is called 1 intro r.csv. And that ran. I didn't even have to tell it where it was. So this is a like crazy giant data set. Okay. Now you could set a working directory and tell it to pull in. It'll still run, but it'll be like, I don't want to do that. It'll give you a little note on the side. Okay. Now, it is very tempting in the newest version of Studio to use the import dataset function from CSV. Click to find. Where you have that hidden, and this is where you get to see how I have folders and folders and folders and folders. I love folders almost as much as I love tables. Okay. And what that's going to do is it's going to use this read R library. Okay. And this is the code that it would run. One, I hate this. I can change the name of the file here. You can't start file names with a number, so it doesn't like that. But it uses this read underscore CSV function. Do not use this function. If all else fails, copy this code, hit cancel, and paste it into your script. Okay, if you really want to use that function. And then come up here, delete the underscore, hit dot. Okay. readr at first was a great package until I realized that it causes a lot of problems. So read underscore CSV imports data as a special type of file. So let me show you a little better how I'm not going to run all this. These look like basically the same function. Okay. And the only difference is that one of these says read.csv, that's in base R. You don't have to open any libraries for that. And the other one says read underscore CSV. Down here, these two files look the same, right? They, let me open this up. So in my environment window, they both look like data frames. But what happens is they get these extra special, stop puppy, you're okay. So you're hearing the sounds of my giant itchy scratchy dog because it's summer. It gets all this special extra crap, right? And what'll happen is that file that it creates using read underscore CSV will throw some error messages that you will have no idea how to troubleshoot because this took me weeks to figure out. So let me kind of prove to you that they're different. So I'm going to ask it for the class, or what type of thing is data stuff. And it says it's a data frame. Not too surprising. That's what I thought it would import as. If I ask for what is data stuff 2, okay, no. Wait, you're fine. Stop. If I ask it what data stuff 2 is, you'll see that it has all these extra pieces. This table DF, this table function, and then it's a data frame. And when people were trying to, what they're trying to do is save more information for you. Good grief, dog. Quit. You're interrupting my video. It causes a lot of problems with some packages we're going to use later. So every once in a while, it just eats an entire column for fun, and you'll be like, why is this totally full of missing values? This data is there. And then you'll realize that, like, something happened. The other thing that it causes problem with is the melt library, and in such a way that it is not clear at all what the hell is going on. So my warning for you is when you're importing data, which we'll do off and on throughout the semester, read .csv, not read _CSV, because it just is quirky enough that you'll be unhappy. Now, if we import something from SPSS, this import dataset from SPSS function is totally awesome. It's the Haven library. I've had zero problems with this. It works so much better than Foreign and Mimisk, which you'll see me use Mimisk maybe if we have any SPSS files. I think I did everything in CSV, but if you're needing to work with some SPSS files, import SPSS, the Haven library, A+, fantastic. The reader library is trying too hard at the moment. So that's just a little bit on some, like, kind of a pre-warning of what's happening, how to do your homework, what to turn in, and just let us know what questions you end up having.